Welcome, everyone, to the Mayhem Original Podcast. We have two very special guests on. We have Tori and Matt. They have their own episodes on YouTube, their own podcasts on YouTube. Tori talks everything, and Tori talks wrestling. You can find the links in the description of this video and check her out. She has a lot of great episodes, wrestling episodes especially. That's what I'm a big fan of. I like both, but I'm definitely a fan of the wrestling one. And I wanted to have them on here to ask them about their one of their episodes. They break down their top 5 tag teams, and I wanted to have them on to actually question them about some of their picks. Some of them I'm not really sure about, and some of them are I would think spot on. But so let's get into that. We're not going to go over all of their picks because I want you to go check out their episode yourselves. Now, most of the problems that I'm going to have is going to come with you, Matt. Yeah. Some of your picks I'm not so sure about here. But before we get there, I do want to say in the honorable mentions. Oh, let's talk about how important do you guys think tag team wrestling is to a wrestling promotion?
I mean, I think that obviously it's not as important as singles competitors, but it is important as it can set up a lot of great feuds and just a lot of great factions. So, yeah.
I personally think tag team wrestling could main event any pay-per-view. However, from the promoter standpoint, that's double the pay of a main event. Because you take 2 guys and a referee and you got to pay them for that main event, or you have a tag team where you have to pay 5 people. So from a financial standpoint, from a promoter, it doesn't make sense to have a main event that's a tag team match.
Now, as a fan, do you guys think you guys are fans of tag team wrestling? I would imagine you guys did the top 5 list. Yeah. So you think it's important enough that a promotion should feature it, and that they should have some good tag teams featured on their roster.
Absolutely.
Yes. And from what I've gathered from your shows, you guys are both AEW fans.
Yes.
And I just got back into wrestling because of AEW. I had stopped watching wrestling for almost 10 years or so because WWE just wasn't doing it. I was not interested in what they had. I've never been a WWE fan though. What about you guys? Have you guys ever been WWE fans?
I mean, when I was a kid, I was pretty dumb and I thought that wrestling was like, oh, this is a real competitive sport. So, I liked WWE because I had no idea what was going on. But, when I was like 8 or 9, I was like, hey, this is like scripted. And then for a while, I stopped watching because I thought it was boring because it was like, you know what's going to happen. That's boring, But then I would say I was like 11 when I got back into it. And I watched WWE because really that was the only thing available to us at the time. But we stopped watching it in maybe 2020.
Even then, though, we gravitated more towards NXT.
Yeah.
NXT was actually our favorite of the WWE brand by far.
Mm-hmm.
Shawn Michaels and Triple H were doing a great job from what I hear in NXT for a while before they got removed as the creative team for it. But yeah, that's what I heard. NXT was superior in many ways from what I understand to the Raw and SmackDown brands.
Mm-hmm.
And for me growing up in the South, I'm a WCW guy.
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I grew up on. And then even where I lived, I even watched the Dallas stuff. So I was big into Dallas too. Very few people nowadays, if you start mentioning anybody from Dallas, they have a clue who you're talking about, But for me, I was always a WCW guy, and I appreciate what WWF was. Now, looking back, I get it now. At the time, I was like, oh, that's not, they got clowns out there wrestling. I'd rather watch Barry Windham and Brad Armstrong.
Yeah.
I get what they were doing now. I just didn't care for it at the time.
Yep, absolutely. And I was always a WCW fan. I always preferred WCW. All my friends always liked the WWF, but I was always the WCW, mainly because that's where Sting was, and Sting is my favorite wrestler. Tori got to meet Sting at an autograph signing, and I'm not happy about that. But I did get to see him wrestle. I got to see him wrestle live once at a house show. So I did get to see him live. Let's go to your guys' show, and what we're going to be mainly talking about here. I love that you guys had Harlem Heat on the honorable mentions. I think that was a great honorable mention. A lot of people, they're overlooked a lot because they were only in WCW, but they were 7-time tag team or 6-time tag team champions, I believe. And I mean, they were for what, 3 or 4 years, they were pretty much the top tag team in WCW there. So
Yeah.
I think that was a great selection. Matt, who is the Coast to Coast Connection? What is that?
The Coast to Coast Connection. Rugged Rod Price was billed as being from Florida, and then you had Hollywood John Tatum, who was billed from being from Hollywood. However, John Tatum truly is from Pensacola, so they're really both from Florida and Texas. But they call him the Coast to Coast Connection, and they called him Hollywood John Tatum because he was a pretty boy.
Yeah.
Oh, don't mess up my hair. I'm from Hollywood.
I didn't know there wasn't a Hollywood before Hogan took the moniker.
Yeah, John Tatum.
Yeah, that's interesting. I learned something new when I watched that episode. I had no idea there was another Hollywood before Hogan's, but I wanted to ask you about that because I had no idea. I had to go back and do some digging on that. I was like, I don't even know. I know a lot deep into wrestling, but that was definitely, I did not know who that was.
Like I said, I was a big fan of the Dallas stuff. In fact, I saw Harlem Heat when they were at Dallas as the Ebony Experience. And then they came up to WCW as Harlem Heat.
Yeah.
So,
wow. Yeah, I didn't know that either. See, there you go. I didn't know that either. That's crazy. I knew that they were together before WCW, but I didn't know what they were called or anything like that. Now, why would there be no Michael Hayes without them?
John Tatum grew up with Michael Hayes. They were best friends. Michael Hayes didn't even really like wrestling as a kid. But John Tatum's parents owned the Pensacola Fairgrounds in Pensacola, Florida. So that's where all the wrestling shows would be. And they got in for free because John Tatum's parents owned it. And so they would go down there and watch the wrestling and all this stuff. And John Tatum was really what got Michael Hayes into wrestling. So
wow,
without John Tatum, there's no Freebirds.
And potentially no Hardy Boys.
That's right.
I mean, a lot of people forget that Michael Hayes was who brought the Hardy Boys into the WWE to be, in there. I mean, they were on before. They were on prior to when they became the Hardy Boys. Right. But they were just kind of audition matches and development matches. It wasn't until Michael Hayes brought them in that they really got their big shot. And I think they ended that too early too. I think Michael Hayes could have stayed with the Hardys for at least another year or two, in my opinion.
Probably. I agree.
WWE has a habit of doing that, ending things before their time is actually over.
Yep.
All right, now let's go to the top 5 list here. Just a couple of mentions I wanted to go over here. The LOD, you have the LOD on the list. I think that's I have them on my Mount Rushmore. We did a Mount Rushmore episode where we took 2 singles competitors, a tag team, and a stable, and made a Mount Rushmore. And the LOD, the LOD was my tag team selection for the Mount Rushmore. So I think having them on the list. Why are they not number 1 though?
For me. Because they're on everybody's list.
Yeah, I can understand it. Now let me ask you.
They're number 1 on everybody's list, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna change things up, and it's just how it fell.
Now they're not. Why are they so? Why is it everybody thinks of them as the greatest tag team? Why are they always the number 1? Because if you actually go back and look at their title stats, I mean, I even have them on my Mount Rushmore. But if you look at their title range, their stats, they really don't measure up compared to some of the more modern tag teams.
Well, they didn't need them. They didn't.
That's very true.
They got the ovation and sold tickets without the belts.
That's a great point there. That's one of, I think that is one of the reasons why they were never get the tag titles, or not as frequently, because they never needed them. The tag belts are often used to promote a team or to put them over, but the LOD never needed them. You are right about that. All right, I'll yield to you on that one then. The Outsiders, Tori, you had the Outsiders on. I think that's a great pick. I was huge Outsider fan. Not at the time. I was not an NWO fan when they first invaded. It wasn't until later on, and I started realizing what they brought to it that I started at least appreciating them for what they brought to it. And the Outsiders are one of my favorite tag teams now. So do you have a favorite of the team?
I would say probably Kevin Nash, probably.
I would probably pick him too as my favorite. Though Scott Hall, without Scott Hall, man, I mean, he was quite the character.
Yeah.
Hey yo. I mean, and his opinion polls at the beginning, is asking the crowd. They were always great, and they just got the pop every time they went in. 5-time tag team champions, I believe. Scott Hall had a 6th, and so did Kevin Nash. If you guys didn't know this, both Scott Hall and Kevin Nash had a 6th reign as tag team champions, but not with each other. Scott Hall was a tag champ with Big Show, or Giant at the time, and Kevin Nash was a tag team champion with Sting.
That's interesting.
Little fun fact for you also, Sting is one of only 2 wrestlers who have held the tag team titles 3 times with 3 different partners. I know a lot of wrestling facts. I know a lot of wrestling stuff, little stuff like that, a lot of it. Matt, the Hollywood Blondes on your top 5 list?
Oh, absolutely.
I don't get that. I don't get it.
Well, you had Flying Brian and the one that would go on to be Stone Cold.
Listen, I'm a Brian Pillman fan, and I'm a Stone Cold fan. I am not a Hollywood Blondes fan.
Well, I was a Stunning Steve fan.
Oh, yeah?
Before Stone Cold.
Yeah, that goes way back.
And once again, it goes back to Dallas. I watched him coming up in Dallas, feuding with Chris Adams and, all this stuff. And then he shows up at WCW. I'm like, oh, I like this guy. And he ended up going into the Dangerous Alliance, and they pretty much did nothing with him besides that. I bet you they're kicking themselves for that one.
Oh, yeah.
And then when they put him and Pillman together, it was just almost a way to give both of them something to do while they drew a paycheck. And yet they had fans cheering them, holding signs up for the Hollywood Blondes, and all that stuff wasn't supposed to happen. So,
you are right. Yeah, I would agree with you on that. It was a team that was put together for lack of ideas, and they really made it into something. And that's the mark of good wrestlers, though. They get put with a gimmick that maybe doesn't work, but they work it to their advantage.
Dusty Rhodes worked the polka dots.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, now let's Tori, you picked the Young Bucks.
Yes, I did.
You have them higher than the LOD. You have them higher than the Outsiders. I am, if I get to do the episode with Merc, potentially, then we're going to be discussing my problem with the Young Bucks and with Kenny Omega. I have a problem with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. I don't like them. I think that they're great wrestlers in the ring. I don't like their gimmicks whatsoever. I think they're terrible. I think the only time I have ever really enjoyed them is when they were heels for a little while before Kenny Omega got injured. It's the only time I've actually liked them. How can the Young Bucks be on your list, especially when they're not even the Young Bucks? Come on now. They're like your mom said in that episode, the old Bucks.
So my thinking is that they are good wrestlers. They're good performers in the ring. They are funny. They have charisma. And even though they do the super kick too much because it's supposed to be a finisher, they do a good super kick. So
they do have good super kicks, but at this point, after Shawn Michaels, I think that's become more of a staple. And I could name probably 5 other wrestlers that also have good super kicks that I still like more than the Young Bucks.
Well, I go with what Jim Cornette said to the Young Bucks, and they don't like Jim Cornette. But Jim Cornette told them, when Chris Adams or Shawn Michaels hits a super kick, how many do they do in a match? 1.
Yeah.
If you do 15 of them, then obviously your kick is pretty weak.
Yeah, they do it very frequently. I think that's one of the other reasons. They're a lot of their moves are flashy, but a lot of them are the same moves. They don't really have a wide range of moves. And I'm not going to doubt their ability in the ring. They can get it done in the ring. I wouldn't be putting my tag belts on them, at least not for very long. And Kenny Omega, I'm not a big fan of his either. I don't buy his whole shtick. I don't buy any of it. None of it. So, yeah, I'm not really happy with your Young Bucks pick there. That's not for me.
I agree with what you said.
And also, you guys mentioned how old they were, and I looked that up because I didn't know if you guys didn't know, but Matt, the older brother, he is 37, and Nick is 32.
Yep.
So they are almost the old Bucks. A couple more years. Now, Matt, you have the New Age Outlaws as your number one.
Yes.
I'm not. They were one of the most popular teams of the time, absolutely. And I also agree with you. One of the very few tag teams, at least at the time or up to that time, that did not have a finisher, a 2-man finisher. They kind of had their singles finishers a little bit, but they didn't even necessarily always win with them either. So I do like the point you made about that. They don't really have a finisher. They were popular. They were popular. There's no doubting that either. How are they number one though?
Well, I'm a big Armstrong fan.
Okay, that's
You
right.
know,
Okay.
so you had Brian Armstrong or James, whatever
Road
you want
Dog,
to call him,
Jesse James.
Road
Yeah.
Dog. Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't know that he's actually part of the Armstrong family.
If they go back and find some old WCW matches he was in, where he's wearing like the Olympic style tights and everything,
Yeah.
it looks really weird.
Yeah.
But his brother Brad, I still think is one of the greatest of all time. But you had him he could work, but he knew it's more about entertaining. You
Yeah.
could put it on, do so many arm bars like Dean Malenko, or you could do one and sell it to the crowd and be done with it. And that's what he did. And on the mic, I don't know of anybody better than Road Dogg.
Oh man, he was so good on the mic, and then you had Billy Gunn to be the actual wrestler, the powerhouse.
Right.
And I agree with you. They made a great tag team. But I don't think I'd put them. I don't think I'd put them at number one. I think they'd get an honorable mention for me, but I don't think they'd be my number one tag team on that. Though you do make some very strong points and arguments in favor of them. I don't think that I would have done that. And Tori, you had the Hardy Boys.
Yes.
Now there are arguments to be made for that, but you also had the. I don't think we can talk about the Hardys without talking about the Dudleys and Edge and Christian.
Correct.
Edge and Christian made your guys' honorable mentions list, and that's fine. They weren't a tag team like the Hardys or like the Dudleys were. So I would agree with that. And you guys, one of you two had the Dudleys on your list. Yep. Tori, you did. Okay. And I think that's also very good. I think putting the Dudleys on, the amount of times that they've held tag belts from various companies is astonishing. I don't know that anybody will ever catch the amount of title reigns that the Dudleys have had. And then you have Hardy's on your number one. They do have longevity. They do got title reigns. So I'm not going to say that it's a bad pick for your number one. But what was your thinking in picking the Hardys over the Dudleys in terms, at least because the Dudleys got accolades for days. They got that no one's going to beat them in accolades. So what was your thinking in choosing the Hardys over the Dudleys then?
Okay, so here's my point. You can be as good of a wrestler all day as you can be, but no one's going to really care if you don't have some personality with you. So that's what made me pick the Hardys over the Dudley Boys, is because while the Dudley Boys are great, they don't really have anything to say, really. And the Hardys, they have so many gimmicks, and they're mostly all great. And yeah. And I know that they aren't the best now, but I mean, they're still legends, so you gotta give them respect.
I mean, they're still getting it done. They're still getting it done in AEW. Jeff Hardy's still doing some crazy stuff. I'm not happy about the Hardy Boys talking Sting into jumping off, the openings and stuff in the arenas. I saw that. I said, "What are you doing? Do you know how old you are?"
Yep, me too.
I couldn't believe I saw Sting jump off that. But yeah, so I think they're a bad influence on Sting, the Hardy Boys. But other than that, they do have the gimmick. And they certainly have longevity at this point. I mean, they've been doing it now for 30 years. I mean, and that's crazy for what they do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Tori has another fondness for Matt Hardy.
Uh-huh. Oh, and this is stupid, but in a funny way. So, do you remember like the WWE like broken era of Matt Hardy?
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you remember his match against like Bray Wyatt outside or whatever?
I don't think I ever saw it, but I know that he did a thing with him. Yeah.
There's a part in that match that always makes me laugh, and it's he gets in a wheelchair and he calls it the chair of wheels. Ah.
Okay. So a little personal thing there. That's why maybe Matt or you like Matt a little more than anything else. That's fine. I mean, Jeff. I mean, I like Matt. I think Matt's a great performer. I think Jeff's the more charismatic. Not on the mic necessarily. Jeff's never been a mic guy. Matt's definitely got the mic skills, but Jeff Hardy can do more spectacular stuff in the ring than Matt at least does.
Yeah.
Would you like to share your top 5 with us?
I could put together a quick top 5 for you. My number one, I would have to put number 1 the Legion of Doom. They're on my Mount Rushmore, so I would have to put them at number 1. At number 2, I would probably put the Hardy Boys in there at number 2 though. Especially just for, if nothing else, the TLC matches that they put on. I mean, they revolutionized tag team wrestling in a way that hasn't been done since, or is likely not to be done again. So yeah, I give respect to the Hardy Boys. I think the Dudleys got to be on the top 5 list, just in terms of sheer number of title reigns. I would probably also I like the Steiners, but they don't really have the longevity. I like Harlem Heat also, but again, they don't really have the longevity as a tag team. So my 4 and 5 would probably go to, I would probably go with the Andersons at number 4 then, Arn and Ole Anderson, for the 4 Horsemen. And then, my last one, honestly, I'd probably go with one of your guys' honorable mentions there. Maybe the Brothers of Destruction, Kane and Taker. I mean, anytime you can get 2 giants together for a tag team, it's usually money.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd just be a quick top 5 off the top of my head. So like I said, most of your picks are fine. There's just a few of them there that I was not happy with and didn't agree with there. But for the most part, I think they're pretty good.
Tori has another favorite one that she left off her list.
Oh, is that right?
Which one? I don't even remember. What
Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus.
No.
Oh my goodness!
No.
Do you guys know that Jungle Boy Jack Perry is the offspring of Luke Perry?
Yep.
Yeah.
I did not know that when I got back into AEW. I'm watching this guy Jungle Boy Jack Perry, and then when me and my buddy were doing research for one of our wrestling episodes, and it came up that he was the offspring of Luke Perry. I said, "What?" Mm-hmm. I said, "That's crazy." I mean, because I grew up watching Luke Perry, in 90210 way back when, so I couldn't believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we heard a rumor. We don't know don't quote us on this, but would you like to share the rumor?
Yes. So have you ever watched the indie, like, Women of Wrestling?
I have seen it, but I don't watch it regularly.
Okay. So there's a woman on there named Jungle Girl, and we've heard a rumor that that's his mom.
Is that right?
I don't know. We don't know.
All right, I'll tell you what. I'll look that up next time I have you on. We'll add that to the agenda on whether or not that's the case. I'll look that up. What do you guys think that the Jungle Express? They need a woman though, right? Like they need a woman in their stable. All these other stables are getting women added to their stables, but the Jungle Express don't have one yet.
Mom has something to add.
Okay, back in the 50s. There was
a
famous...
No, I think it was like 40s.
In the 40s. There's a famous singer named Dinah Shore. That's a real singer. And I think that could be Luchasaurus's wife, Dinah Shore. I'm telling you, it's a real gimmick. It could go over if they would just let him marry Dinah Shore.
Yeah, that is something right there. Yeah, that's hey, like I said, they need a woman in their stable. They're one of the only stables that don't really have one in there. And I have to say that's the other thing I like about AEW. I like the way that they're featuring the women. I like that they're putting them with stables now. I like that they're getting featured in more prominent matches. I think the women wrestling in AEW is really something.
Tori and I both think that they need to bring in Tessa Blanchard, but
yes,
You can never go wrong with a Blanchard.
That's right.
You can never go wrong with a Blanchard. Absolutely not. That would be a great. I think. Did you guys hear Ric Flair wants to get back in the ring now?
Yeah.
Did you hear who his mystery opponent is rumored to be?
Are you going to say Jimmy Snuka?
No, Hulk Hogan.
Oh, Hulk Hogan now? Because there was a rumor that it was going to be Jimmy Snuka not Jimmy Snuka. Yep, totally drawing a blank on his name. But then he decided he wasn't doing it. He announced he wasn't doing it. So Hulk Hogan now?
That's the rumor.
I don't know if AEW would bring him in, maybe for a one-time match.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? I think he shouldn't come in the ring. I think he should come as a manager, just like Tully Blanchard, just like Arn.
Yeah.
I think Flair has a risk of dying from a bump.
Yeah.
I mean, they put so much stuff in his chest when he almost died a couple years ago.
Yeah.
That even if he does get in the ring, I don't think he's going to be leaving his feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think his time in the ring should be over. I wouldn't mind seeing him, Arn, and Tully getting together, and then I don't know why this is I think a missed opportunity on AEW's part here, because they got 2 of the original 4 horsemen. You get Flair, you're going to have the only 3 original 4 horsemen left. Why do you not make a new 4 horseman stable? Why do you not have them pass the torch at this point? There's been a couple of stables, Evolution, and even in AEW, the Pinnacle with MJF and his squad, although they're, I guess, kind of a loose faction, not really a tight faction. But, I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think that's a missed opportunity, or are the Horsemen done? Is the Horsemen in the past, and that's where it should stay?
Well, I don't think you can ever top the Horsemen in their prime.
Yeah.
But for me, honestly, I was never a big Ole fan. I preferred Barry Windham in the
Barry
Horsemen.
Windham?
Yeah, over Ole. But, I mean, he's still around too, though. You could bring him in.
Yep, you could.
There was a big rumor that 1 or maybe 2 of his nephews will be signing with AEW.
Oh, okay. That'd be something. Yeah, that'd be a way to get him in then too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you really, you don't have to search. You could get other horsemen if you want to have all 4 of them. I mean, Sting was a horseman for a while, so they got other horsemen there. But I don't know, if Ric Flair actually comes to AEW, I'd like to actually see them pass the torch to the next stable, even if it's not a new 4 horsemen, whatever it is. I'd like to see them pass the torch to the next group. You know what I mean? That's what
I would have to side with what my wife said a second ago off camera. The Undisputed is probably the closest I can think of to a modern day horseman. No, you gotta be kidding me.
Geez, no. I can't stress enough, no.
You don't like Kyle O'Reilly?
Oh, geez, no. Come on. Adam, no. Oh, man, so no. So no. I can't stress enough how no. I mean, no to the Young Bucks. No, listen, and as far as I'm concerned, you know what he's saying? He's putting his hands up and he's saying, asshole, baby. That's what he's saying, okay? I'm not
that's what Ric Flair was in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. And you're right, Rick. I could see a little bit of Ric Flair there and Adam Cole, but no, I'm sorry. No, I couldn't disagree more. Just so many amounts of no. Not the elite, not the undisputed elite. No, please. We will have, if that happens, we will have another episode and we will have discussions about this, because you just put it out there into the universe, which means now if it happens, it's your fault.
I did prefer the Undisputed when they were NXT, and it was Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, and Roderick Strong. When it was those 4.
I didn't know that they were that this was a stable that they had in NXT.
Yeah, they were the Undisputed Era.
Okay, and then they just took the Young Bucks and made it the Undisputed Elite.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there is no more the All Elite went. I mean, with Kenny Omega, that was pretty much All Elite. Without him, and it's just the Young Bucks, and they're not really a stable. They're barely a tag team. Yeah, I'm gonna, hey, I'm not a fan. They can get it done in the ring. I don't have any problem with their in-ring performance. It's when they're heels, they're fine. I don't buy them as faces. I don't buy them as good boys. I just don't think they can pull it off. Maybe it's just because I want to boo them. Might just be because I want to boo them.
We love a bad guy.
We do.
We love to see a good bad guy.
Mhm.
So we could totally get behind a good bad guy.
Mhm.
Good. And bad guys are good. And when people want to boo you, don't like that's what I was saying about Roman Reigns for so long. Why are they still trying to push him as a face? Make him a heel. The Rock did the same thing. The Rock tried to be a face. Nobody bought it. They all wanted to boo him, so he turned into a bad guy and just embraced it, and then turned him into a superstar. There's nothing wrong with being a heel. That's how a lot of people have made their careers.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Not to mention Ric Flair. Ric Flair is one of them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we can wrap it up here. The Hardy Boys, I wanted to say, because I did look up all the stats. So the Hardy Boys are 12-time tag team champions. You're number one, Tori. I didn't know if you knew this. Okay, they are 12-time tag champs. 6 times in the WWE, 1 time Raw, 1 time SmackDown, 1 time WCW tag champs, though that was in the WWE. 1 time Ring of Honor tag champs, and 2-time TNA tag team champs. So they certainly 12 times is nothing to frown out. That's a good number of title reigns for a tag team. So you're number one. I'm willing to let that slide. Matt, most of your list I'm not happy with, as we went over.
If it makes you feel any better, the LOD only got on there because I was taking Demolition and putting them on another list.
Yep.
You were going to have them on, and you were going to have Demolition on instead of Legion of
Yes, I
Doom.
was.
We are so going to have some words later.
It was honestly though, it's just because, like I said, they're on everybody's list,
Mhm.
and I was just trying to do something that maybe not
I can
everybody's
understand
thinking
that.
about.
I can understand that. They are, but I don't think I could accept you replacing them with their ripoffs.
They were different, is what Vince said.
Mhm.
Yeah, just like Diesel and Razor.
Yeah. We actually watched last night the Royal Rumble that had the fake Razor and the fake Diesel in it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was 1997.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. 97. Yeah, that was a terrible decision.
Mhm.
Well, thank you guys for coming on. I'd be happy to come on do an episode with you guys. I talked with your mom, so I might be doing a tiny little segment on a future episode you guys got coming up. And then, of course, I definitely would like to have you on again on the podcast. So make sure you check out Tori's podcasts. Tori talks wrestling.
And Tori does everything.
And Tori does everything. Oh, it's Tori does everything. I said Tori talks everything at the beginning of the episode. That's my bad. It's Tori does everything and Tori talks wrestling. Go check her.
And she has a
channel specifically for edits called Tori Does Edits. There's some wrestling stuff on there that I did not put on my wrestling channel because copyright reasons. But yeah, go check them out.
Okay. Yep. And what was the last one?
Tori Does Edits.
Tori Does Edits. Okay, so 3 of them. Go check them out. You can just search for them on YouTube. You will find them. And, of course, you can always look in the description of this video where I will have the links, or of this episode if it ends up being part of an episode. But I think at this point, we've gone almost 30 minutes, so we might as well just make this an episode.
Yeah.
Just a special episode. A Tori Talks Wrestling Mayhem original joint is what this was. Mm-hmm. Matt, thank you for joining us as well, and I want to have you guys on again. You can follow us you can follow Mayhem Original on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. That's where our content is. And of course, our sister show, the Boiling Point Podcast, available on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble also, and of course the storefronts. Bonfire.com/store/the Boiling Point Podcast, all in lowercase letters. That's our storefront. And also bonfire.com/store/JDEDESIGNz. That's with a Z at the end of it, all lowercase. And you can visit my storefronts. Get yourself a t-shirt, hat, mug, baby onesie, tie-dye. We have so many different products and designs. Go check them out and get yourself something.
All right.
For Tori and Matt, I am your host, JD. And that's the end.